Unlike Han Xianyu's figure that had undergone a strict fitness regimen, every contour of that man's body had an explosive force and unruliness. It was as perfect as a work of art, especially since she noticed some remnants of lust for him still lingering in herself. But the man's eyes were as cold as ice that would never melt. Damn, am I really drunk? There were so many good-looking people here, yet she was fantasizing about Si Han's naked body, and that time he forced himself onto her like he wanted to devour her entire being. Stop, stop, stop. Stop. Yi Wanwan shook her head hard to get rid of those provocative images in her head. On the other side, Han Xianyu returned after swimming a few laps and walked towards her with droplets of water dripping from his body. Yi Wanwan passed him the towel that was on the seat next to her. Thanks. Han Xianyu took the white towel and quickly wiped his body. Then he got the waiter to get him a glass of red wine. Han Xianyu had just sat down when a woman in a red dress with big curls strode towards the both of them like an enchanting witch in her high heels. The woman stroked Han Xianyu's abs without a word, easily accomplishing something all the girls at the party wanted to do but couldn't. Aya, little angel Xianyu, your bod's getting better. Han Xianyu, who had just been taken advantage of, looked speechless when he saw this woman. Xian Jie. Yi Wanwan was already a little tipsy at this point, so when she saw a delightful beauty walking towards her, her eyes lit up. It was the top actress, Qiao Ke-Xen. Wrong. The current Qiao Ke-Xen hadn't received the Best Actress award yet, but the awards ceremony was around the corner. Qiao Ke-Xen was a classic example of someone who relied on her looks to succeed in the entertainment industry. She was one of those pretty and flirtatious sorts of domineering women and had always been very popular. Unfortunately, because of her image, she didn't even have a decent award under her belt, and she was already in her 30s. Thus, she was criticized by many and was always insulted by female stars. Yi Wanwan remembered this was the year she received the Golden Orchid Award for Best Actress. In her past life, she was quite fond of Qiao Ke-Xen. Although she was flirtatious and had numerous boyfriends before, she was one of the few celebrities who were real. Fine, she was just envious of the 3,000 harems of Qiao Ke-Xen. All her boyfriends were super handsome hunks and they were all younger than her with good looks and bodies. Previously, there was a fan who begged her to discuss tips on how to get men, saying the discussion would definitely play on the VIP channels for the entire year. At the moment, Qiao Ke-Xen sized up the young man next to Han Xianyu wantonly and wasn't trying in the slightest to mask her interest. Xianyu, is this your friend? Why haven't I seen him before? Why haven't you introduced such a handsome little DD to me before? Han Xianyu lifted his head to look at her, then replied bluntly, This is my friend Yi Bai, but he already has a girlfriend. When her motives exposed on the spot, Qiao Ke-Xen giggled but didn't appear too abashed. She glanced at him coquettishly. So what if he has a girlfriend? Jie's not interested in being his girlfriend. Han Xianyu rubbed his wet head with the towel, glanced at her, then said calmly, That's right, you only want to bet him. Qiao Ke-Xen pouted and protested playfully, You're so mean. Han Xianyu replied, Xenjie, he's not that sort of person. Don't get any ideas. Right after Han Xianyu said that, the young man next to him said, How am I not that sort of person? I most definitely am. Han Xianyu. Yi Wanwan looked at Qiao Ke-Xen and a smile spread across her face. Does Jie like me? Qiao Ke-Xen's heart was instantly stirred by that pair of sparkling eyes. She had seen many hunks before, and many of them were fresh and young, but this particular boy was too attractive. The boys she dated before were top-notch hunks, but after a while, there wasn't much excitement to them. It was like they were all clones from a production line. But this Yi Bai. He sat there alone, and although he was physically at a noisy party, he seemed deep in thoughts, like he was lost in a bamboo forest, contented and unaffected. He drank by himself, and also, he had a sense of desolation that extended beyond his age. She was instantly attracted to him from afar, and she wasn't the only one at this party who felt this way. Han Xianyu's head was filled with black lines as he looked at Yi Bai, whose personality had suddenly changed completely. He then coughed lightly and said, Sorry, he's drunk? I never expected this guy would be like this when he's drunk. No wonder his girlfriend doesn't like him drinking. This is too dangerous. However, Yi Wanwan was beyond Han Xianyu's control already. She completely ignored what he said and voluntarily started chatting with Xiao Kexen. Jie, how about letting me read your palm? Xiao Kexen got excited as she sat closer to him and asked with interest, You even know how to read palms? I'm pretty good at it. When the young man looked into her eyes, his pair of peach blossom eyes seemed to have the ability to blow a petal away. Xiao Kexen encountered many of these low tricks to get girls before, but somehow, when this Yi Bai did it, she didn't find it cliched or lame. Thus, she stretched her red manicured hand out. Then tell me, who will the Golden Orchid Best Actress Award go to this time? Is it me? Yi Wanwan held Xiao Kexen's hand and put on a show, looking at the lines on her palm earnestly, then said, The leading actress award this year obviously belongs to you, Jie. As she watched the Golden Orchid Award ceremony for this year out of boredom in her previous life, she could easily recall the recipients for each award. Xiao Kexen giggled and whined, feigning unhappiness. So insincere with your flattery. Everyone knew the hottest star right now was a different famous actress. The young man said with all seriousness, I'm not trying to please you, Jie. You're really the recipient of this year's Golden Orchid Best Actress Award. Not only did I manage to predict that you'll be the best actress, I also predicted the other recipients. The Best Actor Award will go to Senior Li Zhong-yi, the Best Supporting Actress will be Lin Jia-in, the Best Supporting Actor will be Meng Liangju, and the Best Newcomer will be. Xiao Kexen couldn't help but burst out in laughter. Piff, I finally understand what tongue-in-cheek means. Han Xianyu was totally helpless as he listened to Yi Bai spouting nonsense. Yi Bai sensed that they didn't believe his words, so he said, Jie, I'm serious. If you don't believe me, let's have a wager. Sure, what do you want to bet on? Xiao Kexen giggled. The young man's eyes shifted slightly. If there are any mistakes in the award winners I mentioned just now, then I lose. If I lose, Jie, you may do anything you want to me, but if I win... So what, if you win? I'll get a kiss from Jie then. Xiao Kexen was taken aback at first, then she blushed scarlet red. You cheeky. Han Xianyu watched as Yi Bai kept flirting. His face turned almost completely black and his head started hurting as he supported it with his hand. Yi Bai, stop messing around. Bro, did you forget that you have a girlfriend? Where are your morals? Han Xianyu was totally flabbergasted. This was the first time he witnessed Xiao Kexen blush in her entire history of interacting with all sorts of fresh meat. Since Han Xianyu invited Yi Bai along, he was worried he'd go too far, so he quickly helped Yi Bai up and left. Han Xianyu drove towards the apartment while Yi Wanwan sat in the passenger's seat next to him. Yi Bai seemed drunk since his gaze remained glued to his face. Han Xianyu thought he drank too much and felt unwell, so he drove faster and tilted his head slightly to glance at the young man next to him. Are you okay? Do you need to puke? I have garbage bags in the car. In the passenger seat, the young man's gaze slowly returned to focus as he kept staring at Han Xianyu's face. Then he laughed suddenly and the light from his dazzling smile diffused into the atmosphere. His eyes were like thousands of white flowers blossoming. Ah, why would I feel like puking when I'm looking at such a beautiful face? Screech. Han Xianyu lost control of his steering for a moment, making the car skid and form an S on the road. After quite a shock, they finally arrived at the apartment. Han Xianyu quickly helped Yi Bai to his doorstep and couldn't wait to throw him into the house. This guy is really bad at drinking. Never mind if he got drunk and flirted with girls, but he doesn't even let men off. The image of that smile Yi Bai gave him in the car just now surfaced in his head and his heart skipped a few beats. This troublemaker? Initially he thought Yi Bai's girlfriend was too strict with him, but now, he really sympathized with her. Han Xianyu sighed as he helped Yi Bai out of the lift and was about to step forward when he suddenly saw a man standing by the door. Is that Ajo, Yi Bai's friend? The man seemed to have come straight from a black tie affair as he was dressed in a plain black formal suit. The perfect tailoring outlined his slender waist and he emanated a cold vibe from his eyes. His high nose, Deep eyes as dark as ink and lips stained with a light cherry color came together to form a perfectly stunning face. As the atmosphere was uncomfortably chilly, the whole space suddenly felt really cramped. That man's bone-breaking cold gaze landed on him, making him feel guilty as if he'd just been caught for committing adultery. Han Xianyu was in a daze for a second before returning to his senses. He quickly said, "Cough, Mr. C, were you looking for Yi Bai? This guy's drunk." The moment Han Xianyu said that, Yi Bai's eyes lit up as bright as day as he pushed him aside and walked towards the man standing opposite. "Beauty." Han Xianyu, "Beauty? You called a big man beauty? Aren't you afraid he'll punch you?" Han Xianyu wanted to stop him, but Yi Bai was like a wild horse let loose. His eyes looked as if they just spotted some prey and were focused on the strong and immortally handsome man in front of him. "Beauty, have we met somewhere before?" Han Xianyu's mouth started twitching when he heard that. It was the classic line used to hit on girls. Ce Han was definitely able to keep his composure better than himself after being hit on by this guy. Ce Han continued standing there with a frozen expression. It was terrifying just being in the same space as him. Yet the young man hadn't seemed to notice the danger ahead of him, so he kept teasing Ce Han delightedly. "Beautiful little Ji, I think we have an affinity with each other. Why don't you let me read your palm, huh?" Han Xianyu's head was filled with black lines. Again? Yi Bai didn't wait for the man in front of him to agree. Right under Han Xianyu's speechless gaze, he grasped the man's hand. How is this reading his palm? This guy simply caressed the man's hand a few times. After Yi Bai appeared satisfied with the reading he got from Ce Han's palm, he kept up the act and predicted, "Little Ji, I see you're shrouded in a favorable aura and you possess the supreme power of an emperor, but what a pity, your marriage line is thin and faint. You're destined to have a disastrous wedding, and you'll be alone for eternity. If you wish to break the curse, there's only one way." The young man's face was very grave. When Han Xianyu witnessed this, he was almost convinced Yi Bai really knew how to read palms and listened eagerly for the solution to break the curse. "What is it?" the man asked, expressionless. The young man stroked his hand and replied simultaneously, don't worry, little Ji. You don't have to be nervous. You're just lacking me in your life, so sleep with me once and you'll be fine." Ce Han. Han Xianyu almost choked, as if anyone would believe your bullshit. After they both returned to their respective apartments, Han Xianyu shook his head and paced around his living room anxiously. In the end, he walked to his bedroom and glued his ear to the wall, trying to eavesdrop on any conversation going on in the neighboring apartment. But the sound insulation was too good and he couldn't hear a thing. Could something happen between the two of them? Now he finally understood why Yi Bai's friend didn't seem very straight. Was he forced to be gay by that guy's relentless flirting? Next door, Yi Wanwan was like a big bad wolf, dragging Ce Han and slowly leading him into the bedroom. "Beauty, why don't you join me in looking at the stars and the moon tonight? We'll talk about poetry and the philosophy of life. I promise I won't do anything to you." As she spoke, she simultaneously pulled the man to the bed. Ce Han wasn't in the mood to play, and he brushed away the little hands getting busy with his collar. His voice was frozen without a tinge of warmth as he said, "If it wasn't me tonight, would you bring him to bed instead?" After Yi Wanwan's hands were brushed aside, she could sense that he was angry, so she stroked him lightly, lifted her head and grinned. "That's impossible, little Ji. You're the only one for me. I'll only sleep with you alone." Ce Han took a deep breath, looking like he really wanted to strangle her but also wanted to bury her in his embrace at the same time. He bent down and forcefully bit down on her lips while his big palms unfastened the buttons of her top, one by one. But then, something he touched didn't feel right. He looked down and realized her entire chest to waist area was bound tightly. The man furrowed his brows and slowly helped her out of the binding. Although Yi Wanwan was already drunk, she still had the ability to assume her male identity. She quickly freed herself and pinned Ce Han down on the bed. Her watery peach blossom eyes blinked and her hands pressed on his palms. Beauty, don't be naughty." When she pinned him down, her wig fell off and her fine black hair was let loose. Si-Han stared at her flushed little face, her eyes sparkling like stars, her hair falling on her shoulders and the delicate collarbones peeking out of her top. His eyes darkened instantly and his big palms grasped the girl's waist as he gritted his teeth and exclaimed, "Look carefully, who am I?" Yi Wanwan laid on Si-Han's chest and stared at him as if there was only him in the entire universe. Her voice slowly recovered its girly, soft and sweet tone as she said, "I can see you clearly, you're a beauty, my little G, my baby." She rubbed against his neck lightly and her voice became even gentler. "Baby brought me clothes when I was cold, fed me porridge. Baby has a white tiger. I love baby." Seeing the gentleness and warmth in her eyes and feeling the softness on his neck, Si-Han was stunned. "Damn it, woman. You think I would let you off just like that?" The next morning, Yi Wanwan realized she was lying in bed, had changed into clean pajamas and the wig on her head was gone. She had returned to being a girl somehow and she was in so much shock that she immediately stumbled out of bed. She drank over her limits last night and couldn't recall what happened at all. She only remembered going to a pool party with Han Xianyu. Did Han Xianyu find out my secret? Yi Wanwan put on her slippers and rushed out of the bedroom. Then, she saw Si-Han drinking a cup of coffee in the living room. After she saw Si-Han, Yi Wanwan heaved a sigh of relief and her heart calmed down. "Baby, weren't you overseas?" "Oh no, why is it so late already? I have to go to the office." Yi Wanwan saw the time and quickly got dressed. Si-Han looked suspiciously at her without saying a word, an aura of discontentment emanating from his body. After disguising her looks all these years, Yi Wanwan was very adept at it and was able to put on her disguise very quickly. Compared to the exotic makeup she put on daily in the past, dressing up as a man was much simpler to her. All she had to do was draw coarser eyebrows and shadows around her face to make it look more masculine and three-dimensional, and she was done. Before, she sold all her messy outfits in one go on a second-hand website and exchanged them for all sorts of menswear. As she headed to the office, Yi Wanwan donned a more formal Western suit with a white shirt underneath. The collar had vintage embroidery on it and a rose pattern was sewn on the chest pocket. Also, she covered her overly dazzling and attractive eyes with her bangs slightly. When she came out of her room again, Yi Wanwan transformed from being the girl who just woke up in a daze to an upper-class elegant little prince from medieval Europe. "Baby, where did you put my insole last night?" Yi Wanwan asked anxiously. Although she seemed very small when she stood next to Si-Han, she actually wasn't very short. But her insoles helped her look more manly so she couldn't go without them. Yi Wanwan looked around for her insoles and took a peek at Si-Han. She was sharp and noticed that Si-Han had bags under his eyes. She couldn't help but think, Si-Han didn't sleep well last night? Did my sleep-in-second skill fail? What was even more shocking was she noticed something on Si-Han's neck from the corner of her eyes. In the next second, Yi Wanwan charged over and pulled open Si-Han's collar. "Baby, you actually slept around behind my back?" The iciness in Si-Han's eyes finally shattered. Even his voice was extremely menacing as he said, enunciating each word carefully, "I slept around?" Yi Wanwan pointed at the hickeys on his neck and unfastened his buttons. "You're still trying to deny it? Look at the hickeys on your neck and here and some here too. There's even a bite here. It's a complete eyesore. I never imagined that you would be this sort of person." Si-Han's face was as black as the underside of a pot. He pushed her hand aside and fastened his buttons, obviously pissed off. "If I knew she'd act this way, I wouldn't have let her off so easily last night." At that moment, the doorbell suddenly rang. Yi Wanwan shot a look at Si-Han then went to get the door. Han Xianyu stood at the door. After seeing Yi Wanwan's clothes, a hint of surprise clearly flashed across his eyes, then he stretched his head inside and said, "Morning, I bought breakfast. Do you want to eat together? Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon." Yi Wanwan looked at the bags in Han Xianyu's hands and didn't want him to get suspicious, so her face brightened as she pulled the door open to let him in. "Thank you. Why are you up so early when you're on leave?" Han Xianyu rubbed his nose and didn't know how to respond. How can I tell him that I stuck my ear to the wall the entire night so I didn't sleep at all? Nothing happened to these two, right? With that thought, Han Xianyu entered and immediately saw the man sitting at the dining table with his frozen face and messy collar. Han Xianyu turned to Yi Wanwan immediately with an inexplicable expression. He moved closer to her ear and whispered, trying to probe, "Yi Bai, last night, you didn't do anything to your friend, did you?" Yi Wanwan was confused. "My friend? Are you referring to Ajio? What did I do to him?" Han Xianyu noticed she'd completely forgotten what she was like last night and was speechless. "Don't you remember? You were drunk last night and started hitting on him, calling him a beauty, a little G, and insisted on reading his palm. You pulled his hand and caressed it for a long time before telling him that he'd be alone for life and even said he's lacking you in his life. The curse would be lifted only if he slept with you, then you forcefully dragged him into the apartment. I couldn't stop you and was worrying about you guys the whole night." Yi Wanwan, what? Han Xianyu's words was like a 400-kilogram sledgehammer, slamming down on Yi Wanwan's head forcefully, making her see stars, and the world was spinning out of control around her. "What did you just say?" Yi Wanwan stared at him blankly. Han Xianyu coughed lightly. "You really don't remember, huh?" While Yi Wanwan and Han Xianyu were whispering, Si Han could still hear them clearly. After rearranging his collar meticulously, he looked at her with frosty eyes. Yi Wanwan swallowed and didn't dare to meet Si Han's gaze. She continued staring at Han Xianyu and said, "How could that be? Why would I do something like that? I have only my girlfriend in my heart. Stop talking nonsense." Han Xianyu looked at her helplessly. "I'm talking nonsense? Not only did you hit on your friend last night, you even hit on Xianjie, don't you remember?" The moment Han Xianyu said that, Si Han's face turned uglier. "Oh great. Who's Xianjie?" Yi Wanwan was stupefied. Han Xianyu, Qiao Ku Xin. Yi Wanwan? Best Actress Qiao. Qiao Ku Xin? My goddess? Han Xianyu helped her refresh her memory. Xianjie was quite interested in you. So in order to help you escape the situation, I told her you were taken and weren't the sleazy type. But in the end, you turned on me and said you were exactly that type and also wanted to read Xianjie's palm. You told her she would win this year's Golden Orchid Best Actress Award. Not only did you predict that she would win Best Actress, you even predicted the Best Actor, Best Supporting Actress and Actor and Newcomer, then you made a bet with her. Bet on what? Yi Wanwan had a bad feeling about this. Han Xianyu glanced at her. You said if she won, then she could do whatever she wanted to you, and if you won, she had to give you a kiss. Yi Wanwan, this can't be true. How could I be such an immoral person? Just as the world crumbled down around Yi Wanwan, Han Xianyu looked deep into her eyes and then said, "You even hit on me." Yi Wanwan turned to look at Si Han mournfully. "Daddy, please listen to my explanation. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon." Han Xianyu had no idea his words had given Yi Wanwan away completely and pressed on, "You simply flirted with Xianjie and me, but your friend was in a more terrible plight. A big man like him was taken advantage of by you. You didn't really do anything to him, right?" Yi Wanwan, so all those marks on Si Han's body were caused by me? Stop talking, leave me alone. Han Xianyu sensed that something was off in the atmosphere, so he left after giving her the breakfast. In a flash, there was only Yi Wanwan and Si Han alone in the apartment. Yi Wanwan debated between rushing out and begging him for forgiveness. After a very long time, she didn't dare to just leave things like that, so she walked carefully towards Si Han. "Baby, I was wrong. I was the one messing around. I'm immoral. I'm the eyesore. Shit, what should I do? I know I violated the agreement, but to err is human. Nobody is infallible. Everyone makes mistakes, everyone." Yi Wanwan couldn't come up with any more phrases, so she simply used this. "Wanwan's your beloved little darling. So, can you give Wanwan a chance, please?" The man looked at her coldly with a faint smile. His feelings were obvious. Yi Wanwan knew she was in deep trouble this time, so she raised her hand and said, I would like to file an appeal. Last night, Han Xianyu was kind enough to introduce me to some people in the entertainment industry when he brought me to a party. Baby, you know how parties are, you have to drink a little, and I wanted to just drink for show at first to maintain my persona, but I didn't expect to get drunk so easily. I have no recollection of what happened afterwards. I really didn't know I couldn't hold my liquor well. Seeing that Si Han had no reaction, Yi Wanwan became desperate. Baby, why don't we do this? From today onwards, I'll be your sweet little pillow, anywhere and anytime. I'll be there whenever you feel like sleeping. What do you think? Si Han gave her a sideways glance and said icily, Isn't it more convenient if I locked you up in bed? Yi Wanwan's little heart shivered when she heard that. She racked her brains and replied, There's a difference. It's so boring if you lock me up in bed. If you don't, we can unlock many different positions. We can do it in the dormitory, office, home, car, those. Am I right? Si Han, Yi Wanwan hopped over. Don't be mad anymore, all right? Though I was a little drunk and out of control, I was still faithful to you, and in the end, baby, you were the one I brought to bed. Even when I was under the influence and lost awareness, it was still within my innate abilities to choose you. What does this prove? It says I'm true to you, baby. The corners of Si Han's lips moved upward slightly. Yi Wanwan saw his face relaxed and immediately took that as a good sign. Baby's the best. Si Han, did I say she's forgiven? He pinched her delicate chin and got dangerously close to her as he mouthed each word carefully. Yi Wanwan, you really think I'm so easily fooled? With that position, Yi Wanwan pecked Si Han on the cheek. No. Baby, you're so clever and handsome. You're not easily fooled at all. It's just that you love me so much that you can't bear to bully me. Si Han, Wanwan's little class. In order to deal with the great devil, you must be shameless. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. At Dazzling Media, the news about an externally hired manager spread throughout the entire company. As expected, the senior managers were obviously unhappy. Never mind that he didn't climb his way up, but he was so young to boot. Why doesn't he choose to be a celebrity instead, since he's so young and good-looking? Why must he be a manager? After all, being a manager and an artiste wasn't the same. The earlier one debuted as an artiste the better, but a manager required lots of experience and extensive networks. Most of the managers started out as assistants or were in charge of marketing. They normally didn't have an artiste under them without working at least 3 to 5 years, so there were only a few managers in the industry who were under 30 years old. But the older employees knew in their hearts that Chairman Chu was already wary of this dictator, Zhou Wenbin, who held power over all the artistes. Thus, Chairman Chu gave Yi Bai extensive powers and made sure everyone agreed to cooperate with him. At the moment, everybody was just waiting to see what would happen. Nobody dared to choose a team, but it was obvious that not many people had a good feeling about Yi Bai. Zhou Wenbin had been rebuked by Yi Bai in front of Chairman Chu, and Yi Bai seemed capable on the surface, but Chairman Chu couldn't control what happened in private. This young guy didn't have any background, no backers, no experience, and the artiste he chose was way past his prime. How could he fight against Zhou Wenbin? There was chaos in the film studio. A group of newcomers were having their photos taken for publicity purposes. Many of them weren't even in their 20s yet. The youngest was only 16. All of them were at the age when they were freshest. Luo Chen arrived very early that morning. He still wore a plain t-shirt and jeans with a pair of old and washed-out sneakers as he waited silently in a corner. It was currently 9:10 a.m., 10 minutes past the time his manager told him yesterday. At that moment, an attractive-looking artiste was joking with some people and wasn't looking straight as he accidentally bumped into Luo Chen. Seeing that the person in his way was Luo Chen, the artiste's face suddenly turned ugly. Luo Chen. This artiste, Lin Hao, was under Zhou Wenbin as well. As his manager was the strongest in the company and the film he recently acted in was very popular, Lin Hao was in the limelight and a few newcomers crowded around him, trying to curry favor with him. News of the incident in Zhou Wenbin's office yesterday already spread. Everyone knew the new manager chose an unpopular artiste under Zhou Wenbin, And rumor had it that Zhou Wenbin refused to let him go and used Lin Hao to switch with Luo Qin. What's worse was that the new manager refused to budge as he thought Lin Hao wasn't good enough, making Lin Hao the butt of the joke in the entire office. When he saw Luo Qin, Lin Hao naturally had a rage boiling inside him. He rubbed his chin and sized him up with a threatening gaze. "What are you doing here?" "My manager asked me to wait here." Luo Qin seemed to be accustomed to receiving this kind of treatment as he didn't move and stayed put as he replied expressionlessly. Lin Hao laughed out loud. Manager? That little Adonis who just entered the company?" The newcomers next to Lin Hao also chimed in and sneered to please Lin Hao. Yo, I wondered who that was. Is he the future star the new manager handpicked? He has backing, so no wonder he's so arrogant now. He can't make a comeback just by changing his manager, can he? Even Chuji couldn't groom this garbage, yet he's still thinking of making a comeback. Lin Hao crossed his arms and laughed. Don't say that, guys. He's our senior after all since he debuted 3 years ago. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. The entertainment industry was really just a huge display of vanity. No matter how early you debuted, you'd be at the lowest level if you were unpopular. Like an ant, anyone could crush you. Luo Qin knew his rank very well after these 3 years. At first, he even tried to rebel and stand up for himself, but after a while, he became numb to all the mockery. Lin Hao glanced at the small-time artiste next to him and he immediately got the message. He knocked his shoulder straight into Luo Qin and said, "Sorry, we're about to start filming. Please leave, don't be a nuisance here." Before, Luo Qin might have just left without a word, but thinking about what his manager's warning from last night, he stopped in his tracks. The small-time artiste mockingly said, "Don't you understand the words of a human? I've never met anyone so shameless. Have you gone nuts from your dreams of becoming famous, senior? Weren't you delighted that you managed to hug a big thigh? Why do you still want to freeload on the filming of small-time artistes like us?" Noticing the ruckus, the cameraman yelled in annoyance, "Those who have nothing to do with this, get out. Don't disturb everyone else." The small-time artiste sneered, "Heard that? Crawl back to your owner." Luo Qin clenched his fists and turned around, ready to leave. However, the moment he turned around, a warm palm pressed onto his shoulders. The person appeared unhurried as he walked very leisurely and showed an indifferent expression. "Yo, it's so lively in here." Seeing Yi Bai appear, the arrogant small-time artiste turned pale. He glanced at Lin Hao. After all, this Yi Bai was an important person to Chairman Chu. Lin Hao's face darkened as he glared at the main culprit who embarrassed him so thoroughly. "Great, Manager Yi, please look after your artiste carefully. Don't let him go around barking by himself." Yi Wanwan wanted to laugh. Even if she met Luo Qin only once, she knew how quiet he was, yet his guy claimed Luo Qin was the one barking. Yi Wanwan smiled. How I take care of my artist isn't important, but shutting 1 or 2 people out, that's a piece of cake." The moment Yi Wanwan said that, a raging fire blazed in Lin Hao's eyes and he sneered, "Shut me out? Who do you think you are? You're waving a chicken feather as a token of authority. You really think so highly of yourself? I'm one of Binji's men. I don't think Yi Bai has the guts to touch me." Yi Wanwan still had that indifferent expression on her face. She looked suspiciously at the face that had gone through too many plastic surgeries, then casually made a call. "Hello? Chairman Chu?" Lin Hao, who looked fearless up until now, turned totally pale the instant he saw Yi Wanwan call Chairman Chu. Yi Wanwan continued in a very relaxed tone, "Chairman Chu, it's nothing much. I just wanted to shut someone out, so I'm asking you to extend your powers. There's this dumb guy who said I was waving a chicken feather as a token of authority. Oh, I don't have to go through you? Just shut him out if I want to?" Hearing that, Lin Hao couldn't maintain his composure anymore and his whole body started trembling. And the artistes who mocked Luo Qin together with Lin Hao didn't dare to make a sound. They collectively retreated backwards silently, afraid they'd be dragged down with him. Yi Wanwan curled her lips, looked at the pale-faced Lin Hao, then continued, "But he's an artist under director Zhou." "What? I can shut off any artist who's below B-list?" "All right, thank you so much, Chairman Chu." Upon hearing that, Lin Hao couldn't hold it in anymore and rushed to Yi Bai. "Manager Yi, I was wrong. I was rash. I shouldn't have been rude towards you. Please give me one more chance. I won't dare be so disrespectful next time." As Lin Hao panicked, he didn't show a single shred of arrogance. Yi Bai's phone call was like a hammer, knocking him to his senses instantly. Since he rose in popularity after his show, many newcomers to the industry attempted to get closer to him to suck up to him, and it got to his head. He forgot he was just a C-list artist. On the other hand, Yi Bai was someone appointed by Chairman Chu. Even Binji had been avoiding trouble recently and didn't dare go against Yi Bai. Yi Bai already consulted Chairman Chu, and Binji was even willing to switch Lin Hao for Luo Chen yesterday. Today, Binji could give Lin Hao up completely to save himself. "I could really be shut off anytime." Yi Wanwan forced a smile and looked straight into Lin Hao's eyes. "I'm not the one you should be apologizing to." Lin Hao's face darkened as he clenched his fists tightly. Finally, he turned to Luo Chen and said, enunciating each word carefully, "Senior Luo Chen, I'm sorry. Please forgive me." After that, he immediately turned to Yi Wanwan anxiously. "Was that all right, Yi Ji? Please explain to Chairman Chu. I've learned from my mistakes." Yi Wanwan was finally satisfied, so she took her phone out and placed it directly in front of Lin Hao. Everyone including Lin Hao saw the contacts directory on the screen. Yi Wanwan didn't make a call at all just now. Lin Hao opened his mouth, dumbfounded, and he stared blankly at Yi Wanwan's phone. After he came to his senses over what happened, his entire face was the color of pig's liver. "I was fooled. This damn Adonis, he actually fooled me like a monkey." Lin Hao's lungs nearly exploded and he was about to curse, but his gaze met Yi Bai's ice-cold eyes. This was just a warning. In other words, if Lin Hao dared to provoke Yi Bai again, he would really make the call. And if he really made that call? With that thought, Lin Hao didn't dare to let out a single sound. He pushed away from the crowd and left in a huff. After everyone else saw the tactics of this new manager, none of them dared to protest and they immediately scattered like birds. After all, compared to Lin Hao, they were even more unimportant. Luo Chen looked around the suddenly empty film studio, then looked at his manager who was still very relaxed. Luo Chen's shoulders still felt the warmth from his touch. He was already used to all this mockery, but this was the very first time someone actually stood up for someone as worthless as him. At this moment, after witnessing this attack from Yi Bai, this new manager who had just taken office, the cameraman was afraid he'd become the target of Yi Bai's second attack. He quickly wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and explained, "So sorry, Yij, you made an appointment yesterday, but because these newcomers had urgent publicity needs and needed their photos taken ASAP, I let them go first." Yi Bai didn't seem to have the intention of punishing him as he pulled a chair, sat down and commanded, "Let's start." "All right." The cameraman heaved a sigh of relief and quickly ushered everyone to get ready. At the same time, Luo Chen was also led into the makeup room to change his clothes and get styled. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. When Luo Chen walked out of the makeup room, everyone's eyes lit up. Before, his hair was too long, so Luo Chen looked a little disheveled. Now, his black hair was short and his fringe had been trimmed, revealing a bright and full forehead and a pair of glistening eyes. It was unlike those deliberately drawn, European and thick double eyelids that looked dull and lifeless once makeup was removed. The outer corners of Luo Chen's eyes were sloped upwards. Like people in the olden days, his double eyelids were extremely natural and his thin lips were the shade of cherry blossoms, making them look extremely kissable. His skin was perfectly smooth without a single pore visible. The clothes Luo Chen was wearing was requested by Yi Wanwan. It wasn't too over the top. He wore a classic white-collared top and the only design on it was the star embroidered on his collar. For his bottoms, he wore a pair of black pants. This look was neat and simple, matching Luo Chen's slightly cool and distant temperament. It was just like the ignorant yet hopeful figure in everyone's teenage memory. No wonder Zhou Wenbin didn't want to give Luo Chen up even after 3 years. Luo Chen was simply too pure, and in the entertainment industry, this was extremely hard to come by. Since he hadn't had such a drastic makeover for a long time, Luo Chen was a little uncomfortable with the staff and Yi Wanwan sizing him up. "Yi Ji, what do you think? Is it all right?" the makeup artist asked. "Not bad." Yi Wanwan nodded. "Most importantly, Luo Chen has a good foundation. His skin's very soft and I didn't have to do much." Although the makeup artist was just saying all this to curry favor, she also genuinely meant it at the same time. After so many years of being a makeup artist, she could easily tell with one look whether someone had undergone plastic surgery or not, and she was sure that this face of Luo Chen's was totally natural. In all fairness, Yi Bai did have quite good taste. Judging by Luo Chen's face, there really weren't many artists who could compare to him. In all of dazzling, only Gong Su could really match up to him. At this moment, the cameraman adjusted the lighting and walked towards them to ask, "Yi Ji, may I know what we're shooting today?" "Shooting a video," Yi Wanwan replied. The cameraman was under the assumption he'd be taking publicity photos for Luo Chen and wasn't prepared to shoot a video. He was somewhat taken aback as he asked, "Shooting a video? What's it about?" Luo Chen, who was standing at the side quietly, also turned to look out of curiosity. Yi Wanwan opened a document from her phone and showed it to Luo Chen. "Do you still remember this line?" Luo Chen looked at her phone and in the next second, he was totally stunned. It was a line from Terrifying Dragon. "Remember?" "How could I not? I remember every single line of Terrifying Dragon clearly, without a single word missing." He was truly passionate about acting and loved being able to take on the roles of different characters. While he was acting in Terrifying Dragon, it was the happiest period of his life. During those 3 years after the show, the cast, crew members, and sword fights often appeared in his dreams. That was the only precious memory he had ever since he debuted. "Remember?" Luo Chen replied in a trance. "We'll film this part today." When Luo Chen heard that, he shuddered. They wanted him to reenact this part again. Yi Wanwan didn't waste any time. She leaned back on the seat and said directly, "If you don't have any issues, let's start right away. I'll give you 3 minutes to get into character." Luo Chen was stunned for a while before recovering his composure. He quickly made preparations while the cameraman hurriedly got his equipment ready. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. The lights and cameras were ready. Luo Chen was standing in front of the camera. Yi Wanwan sat on the chair opposite, waiting silently. Shortly after, 3 minutes had gone past. "Yi Wanwan, time's up." A hint of panic flashed across Luo Chen's eyes as he spoke hurriedly. "It was a sin for me to be born, my entire life. He probably wasn't used to being in front of the camera again, and now Luo Chen was stuck after saying just one phrase. Yi Wanwan furrowed her brows. Luo Chen clenched his fists, took a deep breath and tried again. "It was a sin for me to be born, my entire life was a sin, everyone and I." As he was about to continue, Yi Wanwan simply cut him off. "Your expression's too stiff. I want you to reenact the scene, not recite lines here." Again. Luo Chen's face turned paler. He closed his eyes to calm himself down, then started again. "I was..." However, this time, only 2 words managed to leave his mouth before he was stuck yet again. There was no color on Luo Chen's face anymore. He was as white as a sheet of paper. "Sorry." Yi Wanwan didn't have any expression on her face. On the 4th take, Luo Chen still wasn't able to put any emotion into his acting. Yi Wanwan shouted "cut" continuously. Luo Chen hadn't passed a single take after over 10 tries. After the 20th take and watching Luo Chen's performance turn from bad to worse with each take, Yi Wanwan stopped rapping on the armrest of the chair and looked as if her patience was wearing thin. There was no warmth on her face. As if sensing the manager's unhappiness, the entire atmosphere in the filming studio was suffocating. Nobody even dared to breathe. And under all the immensely anxious gazes from everyone, Luo Chen was soaking wet from his sweat and his fists were tightly clenched. "I can't do it. As expected, I can't do it." Before, he was like a fish in the water in front of the camera, but now, standing in front of the camera with everyone's eyes on him made his entire body stiffen up and shiver. It was totally beyond his control, and he even started to develop feelings of repulsion towards himself. Yi Wanwan naturally noticed something was wrong with Luo Qin. Not only did he find being in front of the camera repulsive, he also found himself repulsive. The Luo Qin in the past was very bright. He was confident in front of the camera like it was his main stage, his empire, but now, being in front of the camera was like being trapped in a cage. His entire body was bound by an invisible chain. She also noticed that Luo Qin seemed to hate his own face and kept hiding from the camera subconsciously. Although she expected some of this behavior, Luo Chen's condition was worse than she thought. Yi Wanwan slammed the table next to her suddenly with a loud "pa" and said icily, "This face of yours is your greatest strength. It's a gift many yearn to have. It's been bestowed upon you by God to help you put food in your mouth. You hate it for bringing you bad luck? Let me tell you, everything bad that happened to you wasn't because of your face, but it was because you were weak and incompetent." Meng Liang received the Best Actor award when he was around 18 years old. As his mother fell ill, he went MIA for 6 years, then came back only when he was 24 years old. Yet, he still managed to get another award as Best Actor. Li Zhongyi was acting in supporting male roles for 30 years and got his first role as the male lead only when he was 53 and immediately shot to fame. Xiao Kuexen was ridiculed ever since she debuted, but she kept swimming against the current and is making her way up, not showing any signs of weakness at all. Today, she's nominated for the Golden Orchid's Best Actress Award. You've only lost 3 years of your life and were treated unfairly, yet you think it's the end of your life? With those words, Yi Wanwan's expression froze. In a place like the entertainment industry, if you want to reach the top, you have to go through things hundreds, maybe even 1,000 times worse than this while under immense pressure. If you're not strong enough, then I'm very sorry, but I suggest you leave the entertainment industry soon. I won't waste my time on an artist who doesn't have any conviction. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. In a moment, the atmosphere in the film studio solidified into a big block of ice. The person who was normally very easygoing and was always so relaxed like a good-for-nothing man from a wealthy family suddenly became a demon. A terrifying aura emanated from all around him. Even the cameraman and other workers were dumbstruck by this sudden explosion of dreadful aura, much less Luo Qin, who was in the heart of the typhoon. Luo Qin was trembling. There was no color on his face at all. His thin lips were in a straight line, and his entire body almost combusted into flames by the deafening tongue lashing he got. He really wished he could disappear into the air. Yi Wanwan curbed her anger slightly, but the coldness on her face did not lessen as she said, "Now, this is your last chance. If you keep this up, our collaboration shall end here." When Luo Qin heard the last 5 words, his eyes constricted and he lifted his head immediately. Am I going to be given up on once again? His contract with Dazzling hadn't ended yet. If Yi Bai gave up on him now, his management would return to Zhou Wenbin's hands. Yi Wanwan swept her gaze over the workers. "Everyone, get ready." All the workers were stunned for a long time before returning to their senses. The cameraman quickly adjusted the angle, the lighting director adjusted the light accordingly, and the makeup artist rushed over to wipe Luo Chen's sweat and retouched his makeup. Seeing the boy's pale white face, the makeup artist sympathized with him but couldn't help him. The entertainment industry was a place where the weak fell prey to the strong. Although what Yi Bai said was pretty harsh, it was the truth. Very soon, everything was in place and the light shone on Luo Qin alone. Everyone's eyes were on that boy in white top, standing in the middle of the spotlight. Luo Qin stood there vacant and lifeless, unable to free himself from Yi Wanwan's words. He looked so fragile, like he could break with just one touch. Feels as if I was abandoned by the entire world. Begin. Following Yi Wanwan's order to begin, the red light on the camera started flashing. Everyone held their breath subconsciously. 1 second went by, 2 seconds went by, 3 seconds went by. Luo Qin still stood there like he'd lost his soul, not moving or speaking at all. After a few seconds, there was still no reaction from Luo Qin. He was like a lifeless puppet. The makeup artist shook her head, feeling sorry for him while the cameraman also sighed and prepared to turn his camera off. The face of the young man sitting on the seat opposite was gradually turning frosty as well. Ending the unendurable dead silence, Yi Wanwan finally spoke up, "Since this is the case." The moment Yi Wanwan spoke, a low and hoarse laugh resounded in the huge filming studio. "Ha!" Under the spotlight, Luo Chen lowered his gaze and suddenly let out a chuckle. Luo Chen shortly raised his head. His clear eyes swept across everyone in the room. "It was a sin for me to be born. My entire life was a sin." The teenager's clear gaze was like a trapped beast raging in an attempt to charge out of its cage. It was as if he was using all his energy to suppress the surging feelings in him. "I, Lin Luochen, haven't done anything untoward to any of you, yet each one you, all of you, are aggressively forcing me to my doom. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon." "I've been kind towards people my entire life, yet everyone has cheated and insulted me. I have a clear conscience in heaven and earth, yet this heaven and earth also despised and hated me." With those words, the teenager suddenly started laughing. His smile was like a blossoming flower with thorns around it. He was simply standing in the film studio, but it felt as if there was a strong wind howling crazily around him. His clean and innocent face was stained with enormous sentiment, and he stirred up strong emotions in everyone. A little madness leaked out of his gloomy eyes as he said, "So, from today onwards, I'm the only one who can stop myself. There shall be a massacre. I won't spare any humans. I'll kill every human on this earth. The world denies me. I shall destroy this universe." The moment he said this last line, it was as if something terrifying had broken free from its shackles and escaped from his body in that split second, howling and rushing towards the 9th celestial sphere. Silence. Everyone in the film studio was flabbergasted. They stared blankly at Luo Chen, who seemed as if he had become another person completely. He was obviously still the same person, yet that face, how could it become so terrifying? An indeterminate amount of time had passed when everyone finally regained their senses and realized that Luo Chen was acting just now. He was reenacting a classic scene from Terrifying Dragon, when the big triad boss turned dark. It was too earth-shaking. Terrifying Dragon was a sensational hit before. Almost everyone watched it, and what Luo Chen reenacted made everyone recall that scene from Terrifying Dragon instantly. At this moment, present-day Luo Chen was akin to the teenager, Lin Luo Chen, from the show who was also forced to his doom. Even though Luo Chen was wearing a modern outfit, the outcome of his acting wasn't inferior to the original scene at all. It was even more moving watching it now. However, with the manager's residual hostility still lingering, everyone still didn't dare to utter a word. Their eyes all turned towards him sitting silently on the chair. Luo Chen's performance was so exceptional he'll be able to pass, right? Luo Chen calmed down a little before coming out of character. The aura around him dissipated instantly and he was back to his usual self. He stared uneasily at his manager. His body was tense as he stood stiffly on the spot. It was as if he was standing there waiting for his final judgment. After a moment of silence, Yi Wanwan slowly stood up. Under everyone's gaze, she slowly made her way towards the teenager. As she got closer, the teenager got more and more nervous and stiff. Even his breathing almost stopped from looking at the manager's cold expression. Finally, Yi Wanwan stood directly in front of the teenager. "In the office. Do you have any background in martial arts?" Yi Wanwan asked. Luo Chen pressed his lips. "A little, but..." Before, he got some training in order to film Terrifying Dragon, but that was 3 years ago after all. Yi Wanwan passed him a timetable. "You're probably unfamiliar with it since you haven't practiced it for so long, so I've arranged martial arts training sessions for you. Just focus on practicing with the master these next few days. Don't bother with anything else, and most importantly, don't bother with those unimportant people. A lion never turns its head to a dog's barking." Luo Chen nodded seriously and unquestioningly took the timetable. He didn't ask why his manager was forcing him to go for martial arts training when other managers signed their artists up to sing and dance. He also didn't question why Yi Wanwan made him do the filming today. Seeing how obedient Luo Chen was, Yi Wanwan's heart softened. You can't afford a team for now, so just work with the temps in the company for now. In the future, you'll definitely have a team of your own. Her words seemed like a promise, but it was more like a prophecy that he'd be able to make it big. Luo Chen looked at the man's icy cold face and a sense of warmth entered his dead heart. For the next while, Luo Chen led a mundane life. Aside from visiting his mom at the hospital, he only went to the company building for martial arts training. At the company, everyone waited in anticipation to see what Yi Bai was up to. In the end, nobody would have guessed that after Luo Chen filmed a video, he wouldn't do anything other than attending his training sessions every day. Why is Yi Bai making his artist attend martial arts training? Isn't it a waste of time? Is he being prepped to be a martial arts actor? He really has a weird way of doing things. Luo Chen ignored all the weird gazes and gossip around him and did whatever he needed to do every day. At the same time, Lin Hao took up a role as the main lead in a youth idol drama series. Being cast to play the role of the male lead after debuting not long ago was enough to make all the newcomers envious. Lin Hao's future was undoubtedly bright. Today, Lin Hao came to the office as usual with an entourage of newcomers and interns trying to curry his favor. When he walked past Luo Chen, Lin Hao stopped in his tracks and was no longer as sorry as he looked that day when Yi Wanwan fooled him. He was back to his arrogant self as he looked disdainfully at Luo Chen like he was looking at a lowly ant. His face looked as if speaking a word to him would lower his status. Upon seeing Luo Chen's sweaty body, the group of little fresh meat started sneering at him. Senior Luo Chen's really pitiful. He went for training yet again. He's so hardworking, his future must be limitless. After all, he's following a dog manager who counts on Chairman Chu's support. Oops, wrong, I meant he's following a capable master. All the best, Senior Luo Chen. Senior Luo Chen, please give me your autograph. I'm afraid the next time we see you, we won't even be qualified to speak to you. Everyone started laughing once they were done with their mockery. Luo Chen wiped the sweat off his forehead. His gaze swept across everyone without emotion and he left without a word. Upstairs, in Zhou Wenbin's office, Zhou Wenbin fiddled with the new antique that just arrived as he asked, "How's the young lad doing so far?" The plump manager quickly replied, "Binji, don't worry. He hasn't done anything yet, he's probably just bluffing, trying to act all mysterious." "Don't let your guard down," Zhou Wenbin looked disapprovingly at him. The man rubbed his hands together as he sucked up to him. "Binya, like what you said before, you're Binya after all and have been in the industry for over 20 years. There isn't anything you haven't seen before. A youngster like him can't fight against you. Chairman Chu will find out very soon that Dazzling has to rely on you." Zhou Wenbin's mood lifted as he listened to all the flattery. He asked casually, "How's Gong Su doing recently?" "Binji, don't worry, Gong Su's quite well behaved and hasn't caused any trouble so far. The scandal from before has subsided as well, he should be able to show up in a few days." Zhou Wenbin blew the porcelain in his hands lightly and nodded, satisfied. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. A few days later, Luo Chen was the same as before, dragging his exhausted body home. A musty smell filled his shabby and narrow rental apartment. Even the white paint on the walls was peeling off. 2 weeks had gone by in a blink of an eye. Aside from martial arts training sessions, his manager hadn't arranged anything else for him. No publicity, no assignments, no casting at all. In order to attend his training, he resigned from all his odd jobs. His mother's medical bills were getting more and more expensive. The over 10,000 yuan he received before wouldn't last much longer, and if he didn't have an income. Luo Chen showered, then turned on his television, distracted. The television screen flashed for a long time before the images appeared. Some entertainment news was on and a trailer for a show was playing. Luo Chen was stunned when he saw the trailer on the screen. It was Terrifying Dragon. In the trailer, the main lead, Ling Xiaozhe, moved gracefully. His face was extremely dashing. Even though Luo Chen was the secondary lead before, his role was very likable, so he was just as popular as the main lead and shared the limelight with Ling Xiaozhe, even surpassing him slightly. But today, 3 years later, Ling Xiaozhe signed a contract with Yi Group's Emperor Sky Entertainment and currently holds the same status as Han Xianyu as a minor manager of Emperor Sky. As for him, Luo Chen looked at the television, which had started to flicker once again as a trace of bitterness appeared on his face. The sorrowful voice of the female host emitted from the television. 3 days ago, the well-known martial arts novelist, Mr. Lin Zong, passed away after living to a ripe age of 83. The literature and entertainment world have expressed their condolences. Hearing that statement, Luo Chen was dumbfounded. Old Mr. Lin Zong actually passed away. In order to prevent his mind from being muddled by the sneers and ridicule from the people around him, he had been busy training all this while, so he didn't keep up with the news. The voice from the television went on. As we all know, Lin Zong had many classic martial arts works, of which the most popular was Terrifying Dragon. 3 years ago, the series, Terrifying Dragon, was so popular throughout China that the actors in the series all rose to fame and became very active in the showbiz. Of course, the main lead who played the role of Yun Hai in Terrifying Dragon gained popularity overnight, and according to recent reports, he has taken up a role in the latest film by director Jiang. Following that was a lengthy speech introducing Ling Xiaozhe, and the script also included an introduction of some other stars from the show. As for him, all he got was this phrase: he was out of the showbiz right after Terrifying Dragon, and there's been no news about him ever since. At this moment, a familiar yet unfamiliar face appeared on the big screen behind the female host. On the screen, the teenager looked as perfect as a painting and was sparring in the sky with the main lead, Yun Hai, moving very naturally and fluidly. That's Lin Luo Chen. That's me. He was still in a daze when all of a sudden, his phone started ringing, interrupting his train of thought. Luo Chen shook his head and suppressed the haze in his head, then picked up the phone. Hello. When he saw the caller ID, Luo Chen was somewhat surprised. The person calling was an artiste who debuted around the same time as him. Although that artiste didn't start out as well as he did, he managed to progress well eventually, and they lost contact. Why is he calling now all of a sudden? Luo Chen had just picked up the call when an excited voice came through the receiver immediately. Luo Chen, you're really great. Good for you. I didn't realize that you could hide so well. Luo Chen was totally confused and he furrowed his brows. What? Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. The person on the other end was somewhat speechless. Why are you still faking it, huh? I really have no idea what you're talking about. Sensing that Luo Chen really wasn't bluffing, the caller said suspiciously, Don't you know? You're popular now. Your Weibo post went viral. Weibo? Luo Chen turned on his laptop and signed into Weibo. His manager had gotten his Weibo account back, but he hadn't tried logging in until now. The laptop system was quite old, so it took a long time for Luo Chen to log in. Then, he was disconnected by the crazy surge of notifications. Luo Chen was silent for a few seconds. He hadn't come around to what was going on. After several attempts at logging in and turning off all the notifications, he finally managed to stay connected. He opened the main page of his Weibo and was stunned. He knew he hadn't posted on his Weibo for a very long time, but the latest post was updated 2 weeks ago. What he found most unbelievable was that this post had been reposted over 10,000 times and the number of likes was over 100,000. The comments were endless as well. A video was uploaded along with the Weibo post. Luo Chen opened the video and realized that it was a section from one of the classic scenes in Terrifying Dragon. It was the one he reenacted in the film studio the other day. But that was just a short clip from an old classic film. Why would it garner so much attention? He wasn't some popular artist anyway. The Weibo posts he posted before never got more than 100 reposts. Only a few undying loyal fans left comments. Luo Chen patiently sat through the entire clip. In the video, the eyes of the teenager glistened as he cried, "If this world denies me, Then I shall destroy this universe. The front part was taken from the old film, however, when it got to the last phrase, the video split into two. Half of it showed the original film while the other half played the clip that was filmed the other day. Destroy this universe. The video of him 3 years ago and the video of him taken 2 weeks ago in a modern outfit spoke these 3 words at the same time. When these 2 clips were placed side by side, even he was stunned by himself. At the same time, he also noticed the words in this Weibo post. Long time no see, I'm back. This is equivalent to a public statement announcing my comeback. However, it probably wasn't popular when it was just posted 2 weeks ago. Nobody probably noticed he posted this. But now, since old Mr. Lin Zong had passed away, the martial arts trend was revived in the entertainment industry once again. All the actors that were in Terrifying Dragon before had posted something related to the news on their Weibo, and this post of his had also been caught up in this wave of posts, becoming instantly popular. Luo Chen's gaze swept to the comments under the Weibo post. Luo Chen's favorite little baby. Ah, the day has come. Luo Chen finally posted. Weibo. He's so dashing in the last 3 seconds. This ID was very familiar. It belonged to a die-hard fan who followed him ever since he shot to fame 3 years ago. Each time he posted something, she left comments up until he stopped making posts half a year ago and stopped receiving any advertisement projects. Sweet mom. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. What did I just see? What's the meaning of this post? Is my husband coming back again? I only love my Chen, the stars will never fall. This was also his die-hard fan. He didn't expect that after so long, he'd still see their posts. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Farmer's sweet spring water. Damn. I was still thinking about the whereabouts of the Lin Luo Chin in Terrifying Dragon, then I saw this post. Is the last 3 seconds how Luo Chin looks like now? Damn. He's even better looking than 3 years ago. He actually hasn't turned ugly. Terrifying Dragon floating in the skies. He's definitely the artiste who shared the limelight with Ling Xiaozhi before. But I just can't figure out why he didn't rise to fame. It's such a pity. Professional troll, I just want to know why the new clip is only 3 seconds long. The appearance-obsessed party can't stand the hunger and thirst any longer. A good little sheep turning bad to become the big villain boss. Isn't that awesome? Before, the final scene of Terrifying Dragon stopped here and everyone was on the edge of their seats. Just when will they be releasing the 2nd season? It's been 3 long years. Diasmectite, don't you guys know? The director of Terrifying Dragon already posted on his Weibo and said the 2nd season is confirmed. No matter who plays the other characters, only Luo Chin can take on the role of Lin Luo Chin. It looks as if time has stopped for him. He still looks exactly the same as the Lin Luo Chin from the past. Wrong, he's even more stunning now. Bored beauty. Are they really filming the 2nd season? It's really happening in my lifetime. I don't care what others want, Lin Luo Chin must be Luo Chen's role. I won't accept any other artiste acting as Lin Luo Chin. The rest of the comments were mostly fans of Terrifying Dragon, those who loved reading about Lin Luo Chin as well as passers-by and the appearance-obsessed party. Everyone assembled as one and formed an unstoppable big stream, working together and making this post become more and more popular. Luo Chin had already forgotten when people last paid attention to him. When he saw those enthusiastic comments and his post gaining more and more popularity, he was totally dazed and felt as if he was in a dream. He hadn't hung up yet and the envious voice of the caller came through the receiver. With so many reposts and attention at this rate of popularity, you'll definitely be in the headlines tomorrow. After all, everyone was curious about what happened to you. What's more, there's the huge fan base of Lin Luo Chin and that poll on the actors for Terrifying Dragon 2. You've already secured the 1st place in the poll for the role of Lin Luo Chin. Alright, which expert helped you with that video? It's amazing. That artiste kept going on and only hung up after half an hour. Right after that, Luo Chen's phone started ringing again while he was still in a daze. They were calls from some other people in the industry either congratulating him or probing him with questions. Luo Chen stared at his phone that rang non-stop. He never realized that he actually had so many friends in the industry. The next morning, on Weibo's list of popular topics was the post of Luo Chen announcing his comeback. The first, second, and third most popular searches were Luo Chen Lin Luo Chen, Luo Chen's comeback, and Terrifying Dragon, sequel continues. Luo Chen's name had once again appeared before everyone's eyes overnight. It had only been about 10 hours since news of the post reached him, yet Luo Chen had suddenly risen to fame so rapidly. How could it be? In his office, Zhou Wenbin's face changed drastically when he heard the report from his subordinate. Since he took his artistes out for drinks with their sponsors the night before and had blacked out, he only heard the news that morning. Zhu Hangyong wiped the sweat off his chubby face and said, "I never expected this either." Zhou Wenbin stared at the overflowing messages online and forced himself to remain calm. Just a Weibo post that became viral. Why are you panicking? Zhu Hangyong scowled miserably. Ooh, but Director Song posted on his Weibo that he'd be officially launching Terrifying Dragon 2, and there's even a casting vote in the post. At the moment, Luo Chen's in first place for the role of Lin Luo Chen. What? Terrifying Dragon 2 foot. Zhou Wenbin's face sunk and he was completely dumbfounded. Zhu Hangyong couldn't help but felt apprehensive. Since old Mr. Lin Zong passed away due to his illness, martial arts films suddenly became very popular, and following that, Director Song stated that in order to fulfill old Mr. Lin Zong's final wishes, he wants to film Terrifying Dragon 2. The Yibai's too lucky. Either that or he can predict the future. How was he able to have such good timing? It was totally the right time at the right place with the right people. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Worldwide Entertainment, Chairman's Office. Not bad. I really didn't choose the wrong person. Mr. Ye's indeed a rare talent. Chu Hongguang had also received the news and was overjoyed. He immediately summoned Yi Wanwan over for a chat. When he suddenly placed Yi Bai in such an important position, many of his staff were unhappy with him. Now that Luo Chen had suddenly exploded in popularity, it proved his good judgment, so Chu Hongguang was obviously in a good mood. Yi Wanwan put on a humble face and acted like she didn't have the intention to take any credit. That's all because Chairman Chu didn't conform to standards and gave me a chance even when I didn't have much qualifications or experience. Otherwise, no matter how hard I tried, I'd still be a nobody. Chu Hongguang was pleased as he listened to Yi Wanwan and felt that this Yi Bai wasn't ignorant like that Zhou Wenbin. He felt even more satisfied with himself. Thus, he instantly took out a stack of files and a bunch of key cards and pushed them over. I'm very clear on rewarding the good and punishing the bad. You've done very well this time, so I'll get the finance department to give you a bonus this month and I'll hand this house over to you in advance. You don't have to rush the payment for the house. Take your time. Yi Wanwan smiled and didn't stand on ceremony either as she accepted it all. Thank you, Chairman Chu. This old fox, Chu Hongguang, made himself look so generous, but he simply handed over the house a few days earlier than planned. He didn't lose out at all. After he spoke, he tried probing. Yi Bai, how confident are you in getting the role of Lin Luo Chen in Terrifying Dragon? Before, Terrifying Dragon exploded in popularity and made many newcomers famous. After that, the second season was supposed to be filmed, but due to some funding issues and other problems the production team had, they had to shelve the production midway. In the end, the popularity of martial arts films died down, so they didn't continue with the second season. That is, until the passing of Lin Zong made martial arts popular once again. Plus, Song Jin Lin wanted to fulfill Lin Zong's last wish, so this show would be a big production for sure. It was a rare opportunity. Within 10 hours of Song Jin Lin's announcement, many management companies already got down to work, but nobody was as swift as Yi Bai. Yi Wanwan replied plainly, "It'll definitely be Luo Chen." Chu Hongguang chuckled, "Great. Then I'll be waiting for your good news." This Yi Bai seems a little dark. He didn't want anyone other than Luo Chen and managed Luo Chen's comeback at such a good time. Could it be that he's able to foresee a person's death too? Did he predict that Song Jin Lin would film Terrifying Dragon 2? No matter how he managed to do it, it's not a matter I should be concerned about as long as he's able to pin down Zhou Wenbin. After she had left Worldwide's office, Yi Wanwan didn't go to Dazzling. Instead, she headed back to Jean Garden. After all, today was an extremely special day. When everyone was trying to figure out who the mastermind behind Luo Chen was, the legendary god with marvelous foresight, great manager Yi, was crouching in the house uneasily, staring at the laptop in full concentration and was ready to check the results of her college entrance exams. Teacher C, the moment has arrived. It's time to review the outcomes of your teaching. Yi Wanwan placed the laptop on her lap and rubbed her hands nervously. In contrast to Yi Wanwan's nervousness, Si Han was sitting on the sofa opposite, sipping his tea leisurely. It was time. After a few deep breaths, Yi Wanwan finally signed onto the website and entered her admission number. She hovered her finger on the enter button and paused for a second, then pushed it down hard. Language, 142 points, English, 148 points, liberal arts, 283 points, math, 150 points. Damn. Even after she estimated her results, Yi Wanwan jumped in joy immediately after seeing these results. Especially when she saw her math results. With this overall score, she could get into Imperial Media. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Yi Wanwan lifted her laptop in one hand and hopped over to Si Han, hugging him. Teacher C, I love you so much. I scored full marks on math. Full marks. Zhao Xingzhou would probably be in tears. Teacher C's fees were indeed a bargain and an honest deal. Why aren't you surprised at all? Did you peek at my results secretly before I saw them? Do you think there's a need for that? Si Han stretched out his arm and pulled her into his embrace with an expression that read, Do I even need to check the results when I'm the teacher? Probably because he was infected by her cheery mood, the man's expression was much warmer than usual. Yi Wanwan agreed repeatedly, Yes, yes, yes. There's no need. After she had seen her results, Yi Wanwan's heart couldn't calm down. I'm so happy. It was the first time she felt so happy ever since being reborn. She was on the right track with her career. She got the house back and she even scored exceptionally well on her exams. I finally can return home. It would be her grandfather's birthday banquet soon. She could take this chance to visit. Not only did she fall out with her parents, but her relationship with her grandfather was extremely terrible as well. In her past life, she simply showed up with her atrocious makeup and outfits, causing everyone to treat the Yi family as a joke, angering her grandfather. Furthermore, during her grandfather's birthday banquet, Gu Yuzhe publicly announced the annulment of their engagement and even announced the news of getting engaged to Yi instead. Under Yi's purposeful provoking, she lost control and made a scene. Not only did she thoroughly embarrass her parents, she even offended her grandfather and destroyed her own reputation. What's worse was that in order to see Gu Yuzhe during this birthday banquet, she spent half a month acting like a good girl and was finally allowed out of the house. After causing a mess like that, she was tortured badly by Si Han once again. In this life, she wouldn't allow those people to ridicule her parents in front of everyone, wouldn't push her grandpa and grandma away, and wouldn't allow Gu Yuzhe to get what he wanted. If she didn't destroy that bastard, Gu Yuzhe, then her last name's not Yi. She would take this chance to win Si Han's trust completely. Teacher C, you were able to turn a fool like me into a genius. You have the ability to touch a stone and turn it into gold, changing something rotten to something incredible. Thanks for your trouble. Let your student give you a shoulder massage. Yi Wanwan was especially sweet today. Although she had already gotten her freedom in this life and was able to attend the birthday banquet, she couldn't stop with her daily pacifying. Si Han felt the gentle little hands on his shoulders and looked sideways at her emotionlessly like he didn't see through her intentions at all. Late at night, Su Yi stood in front of his master, looking very confused. Contacted? The man asked coldly with that rigid face of his with a total lack of emotion. Su Yi replied instantly, Yes, Great Master Mei already confirmed at his end. He'll be using Ms. Wan Wan's name to attend the birthday banquet and congratulate Yi Hongwei. Su Yi's tone seemed calm, but the truth was that in his heart, he was like a river with surging currents. It was agreed that Yi Wanwan wasn't allowed to leave Jean Garden at all, and it was agreed that Yi Wanwan wasn't allowed to contact her family. Never mind that the principles are being broken one by one. Now he's even supporting her? What's he thinking? Could it be that since Gu Yuzhe will definitely be there at the banquet, he wants to show off a little in front of his rival? Mei Jingzhou is an internationally renowned great scholar in Chinese art and is extremely lofty other than master. Nobody in all of Imperial City could invite him. Inviting a national treasure to a banquet of this level? The place might not even be able to handle it. Forget it. As long as Yi Wanwan doesn't do anything funny when she sees Gu Yuzhe, it's fine even if the heavens can't handle it. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. A few days later, the college admission results were out and Yi Wanwan had successfully been admitted into Imperial Media. It was also the day of her grandfather's birthday banquet. Before she took off from work, Yi Wanwan sent a text to Si Yihan. "Baby, tonight's my grandpa's birthday banquet and I have to be there. Don't wait up for me for dinner, moi." She had been busy from morning till night getting ready for Luo Chen's casting for Terrifying Dragon 2, and didn't even have the time to find a birthday present. Yi Wanwan rushed back to the staff dorms, did her makeup again, changed her outfit, then headed straight to the antique market. Her salary wasn't high, so she couldn't get an expensive gift and had to make her gift special with a limited budget. Large and small booths lined the antique street. It was quaint and felt as if she entered another era. Yi Wanwan's eyes swept the market. Her exquisite brows furrowed slightly as she surveyed dozens of stalls. A messy young man dressed in shabby denim overalls squatted by a store in the antique market and sized up Yi Wanwan. He looked straight at her without the slightest intention of hiding it. In order to save time, Yi Wanwan already put on the dress she was wearing to the banquet and attracted quite a bit of attention on her way over. However, there was something different about the way this man looked at her. It wasn't like the way other men looked at the opposite sex, but the way he scanned her, it was as if he knew her. The man had a lazy expression and the corners of his lips curved upwards when he met Yi Wanwan's eyes. Yi Wanwan walked up to him and sized him up, then crossed her arms and asked, "Done looking?" The guy suddenly laughed. "I thought you looked quite familiar, like I've seen you somewhere before." Hearing what he said, Yi Wanwan chuckled. "This pickup line is a little old, isn't it? Babe, I haven't made any sales for a day already. It's hard to make a living, please help me out." The man showed off the products in his booth. After Yi Wanwan was sure she didn't know this person, she didn't waste any more time and turned away, ready to leave. Don't leave, the things I'm selling aren't just regular goods. Even if you don't want to get anything, just take a look. Seeing that Yi Wanwan was leaving, the youth tried desperately to grab her attention. Yi Wanwan turned her head and scanned the items in the young man's booth. With one glance, Yi Wanwan stopped in her tracks. The items he was selling were all different in shape. Unlike small trinkets and antique porcelain, they were more like various pieces of art made out of a kind of solid material. "What's this?" Yi Wanwan was intrigued by some delicate carvings and she pointed to a white box. Seeing that Yi Wanwan was interested in his goods, the laziness in the man's eyes dissipated and he was suddenly energized. "Girl, you have good taste. I knew you weren't just any old person. Sure enough, you know your stuff," the youth said proudly. He cleared his throat and said mysteriously, "This was a snow wolf I hunted when I ventured to the cold north by myself a few years ago. I used the bones from its legs to create this beautiful box. It's very domineering, suits you well. You can ward off evil if you keep it in your home." Yi Wanwan ventured to the cold north, hunted a snow wolf, used its legs to create a bone box. This marketing strategy's too crazy. Why didn't you just say it's made of a lion's skull you hunted from the cold north? Yi Wanwan resisted bursting into laughter and pointed to another aesthetically pleasing item and asked again, "What about this?" "You have really good taste. This was made out of the skull of an adult lion from the mountain ranges in South America. It was also hunted by me bare hand. the man said, pleased with himself. Yi-Wan-Wan, liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Seeing the suspicion in Yi-Wan-Wan's eyes, the man asked pressingly, you think I'm bluffing? Yi-Wan-Wan shook her head and swung her purse in front of the man and laughed. Years ago, after I hunted a brown bear weighing over thousands of pounds with my bare hands, I stripped its fur and made this purse with it. Ah! The young man looked at the purse in Yi-Wan-Wan's hand and was slightly stunned. No way! The man rubbed his nose and was puzzled. I've hunted many brown bears myself with my bare hands before. I didn't know there are brown bears weighing over 1,000 pounds. Yi-Wan-Wan looked at how he was so puzzled and was so helpless. His focus was on the brown bear's weight and nothing else. I've never seen any brown bear weighing a few thousand pounds before. Most of the brown bears I've hunted were at most around 1,300 pounds, the man replied seriously. You're something else, huh? Yi-Wan-Wan gave a light laugh. This person's quite interesting. I'm all right. There's a technique to hunt brown bears. It's not very hard, the man said. Yi-Wan-Wan shook her head. What I meant was that you even brought a scale with you while you hunted brown bears. When he heard that, he appeared unhappy and said disgruntledly, Girl, you're insulting me. I don't even need to weigh them. I know their weight with just one look. Oh, how much do I weigh then? Yi-Wan-Wan asked casually. The man really scanned Yi-Wan-Wan up and down before replying confidently, 165 pounds, give or take no more than 3 pounds. Yi-Wan-Wan's face darkened in an instant. Is this man trying to make trouble on purpose? Seeing that there wasn't much time left, Yi-Wan-Wan didn't want to keep talking nonsense with this man any further and immediately turned to leave. Girl, aren't you buying anything? The man shouted from behind her. When Yi-Wan-Wan heard him, she considered it. Although she couldn't tell what his goods were made of, they were beautifully made and she quite liked them. Too bad she didn't have much money on her and had to quickly choose a birthday gift. It's cheap. The man persisted and continued yelling. Yi-Wan-Wan paused. Without turning around, her voice instinctively rang out, How cheap? Man, 100,000 for one. Yi-Wan-Wan, goodbye. Man, 10,000. Yi-Wan-Wan didn't turn her head. 1,000, I can't go any lower. He was desperate. 100. Yi-Wan-Wan shouted back. Damn, is this even haggling? 100,000 to 100. This is robbery. The man was totally stunned. But in the next second, the man quickly shouted as if worried that she'd leave. Fine, fine, 100 then, it's enough for me to have dumplings. So hard making business from you girls. If not for me not making a single sale in 3 months, I wouldn't even accept anything less than 100,000. Yi-Wan-Wan made that offer nonchalantly and didn't expect him to actually agree to it. Surprised, she turned around swiftly and pointed at the sculpture that had caught her eye just now. I want this, please wrap it up. Anyway, she wasn't losing out and couldn't be cheated with $100. Sure. He took out a gorgeous gift box and placed the item in it. Girl, what's your name? He asked after he received the money. When asking for someone else's name, shouldn't you tell the person your name first? Yi-Wan-Wan laughed. I'm nameless, Nya. The man was visibly happy when he told her his name. Oh, I'm famous Yi, Yi-Wan-Wan replied plainly. This guy, not only is he selling fake goods, even his name's fake, huh? Who would be called nameless? What kind of weird name is this? Were you adopted? Nameless Nya looked at Yi-Wan-Wan, bewildered. I guess you were adopted too, huh? The corners of Yi-Wan-Wan's lips curled upwards and she didn't keep talking nonsense with Nameless Nya. She turned and disappeared into the street. After Yi-Wan-Wan left, Nameless Nya straightened his slightly crumpled denim overalls and sat next to his booth. He returned to his lazy self as he laid in a comfortable position. Famously interesting. The man smiled, revealing a languid and evil expression. Mommy, I want this. At that moment, a mother with a child around the age of 7 or 8 appeared in front of his booth and Nameless Nya quickly stood up. Little bro, you have good taste. This was a polar bear I hunted in the far north years ago with my bare hands, then I used its fur. I don't leave. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. At the old residence of the Yi family. Outside the Grand Manor, it was almost completely blocked off by security personnel, forming a restricted area. Many reporters waited a few hundred yards away, each of them stretching their heads out, trying to peek into the old residence of the Yi family. One after another, numerous luxurious sports cars slowly made their way to the old residence. The stream of cars dazzled all the reporters. Big stars dressed in gorgeous outfits came out of the cars, walking out gracefully with poise towards the old house. The reporters stood outside the restricted area and gasped in shock continuously. They kept clicking their cameras and fought to get the best shots of famous figures. Cheng Man and I, currently one of the top 10 A-list celebrities in the country. One of the reporters raised his camera up high and glanced at the wonderful figure that just passed. That's the big brother and sister from Emperor Sky? They're actually here. Each of the celebrities that arrived was extremely popular, making the crowd wish they could grow another pair of hands so they could take more pictures. Today's old Ye's birthday and half of the entertainment industries arrived. This attendance surpasses even the Golden Orchid Awards ceremony. Doesn't the Yi family already control half the entire entertainment industry? Too bad the place is entirely cordoned off. If only we could get in and take a few pictures, that would really be. With that said, the reporters started to complain and sigh, shaking their heads. It was already considered an honor to be able to stand outside and soak in the atmosphere of old Ye's birthday celebration. With the skills of the Yi family's security guards, not to mention getting inside, but even if they got near the main gate, they'd probably be thrown out by the guards instantly. This Yi family's really powerful. They actually have so many big stars attending the banquet. I've never seen something so grand before. You call this grand? Although the Yi family's the big boss of the entertainment industry, that scandal many years ago caused the Yi family to suffer a great loss and they haven't been able to return to their glory. If that incident hadn't happened, the Yi family would definitely be twice as rich. Scandal? What scandal? Hearing that, a few of the new reporters became interested and looked eagerly at the reporter who said it. The newcomers became very interested in the topic and they started probing. A scandal that could hurt the Yi family must have been a big one. Senior, please tell us and let us gain some knowledge. A slightly older reporter dressed in a reporter's attire had his pointy finger pressed against the gate. He lifted his gaze and in response to all the questions coming at him, he said secretively, this was the Ye's family scandal. Although the Yi family wanted to hide this incident at all costs, because of the magnitude of it, the truth was leaked and many people dug out the truth together. In this day and age, it's no longer considered a secret anymore. A big corporation like the Yi Group naturally isn't as calm as they look on the surface. Many years ago, the scandal of the Yi family caused a ruckus throughout the entire industry, almost uprooting the Yi family altogether. The new reporters were more and more intrigued as they listened and shuffled closer to him with their ears pricked, afraid they'd miss out on important information. Everyone knows the president of the Yi Group now is old Ye's son, Yi Shaoan, but a few years ago, Yi Shaoan was just a small assistant in the company. The slightly older reporter said mysteriously, "What do you mean?" A few of the reporters were confused. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Everyone knew who Yi Shaoan from the Yi Group was. He was the boss of Yi Group. How could he be an assistant years ago? The senior reporter looked at the crowd's curious gaze and said softly, that Yi Shaoan is the second son of Old Yi. Old Yi has an older son called Yi Shaoting. Before the scandal, Yi Shaoting was supposed to take over the Yi Group and Yi Shaoan was just his assistant. There's something like this? The newcomer reporters weren't very familiar with the members of the Yi family, they only knew what was on the surface. Could it be fake? It was said that the boss of Yi Group at the time, Yi Shaoting, was involved in some serious gang activities and laundered the company's money away, embezzling a large number of public funds. These old stories were like bombs that blew these new reporters' minds. Is this Yi Shaoting insane? He actually did something so atrocious? A month after that happened, Yi Shaoan sacrificed his ties of blood to righteousness and exposed Yi Shaoting. Under all the irrefutable evidence, Yi Shaoting admitted to his crimes. Old Yi raged, and after that, together with the senior management of Yi Group, they threw Yi Shaoting out of the company, banishing this tumor. Ever since, the group's been in the hands of old Ye's second son, Yi Shaoan. The senior reporter sighed as he recalled the past. Then, how's Yi Shaoting now? A reporter asked out of curiosity. Him? After doing those deeds, nobody wanted a piece of trash like that. It's been said that he's working at some small company now. His son and daughter are useless as well. His son, Yi Mufan, is working for Yi Shaoting's ex-driver, while his daughter's even more outrageous. Not only is she exceptionally ugly, she's an incompetent and ignorant girl, always stirring up trouble. The senior reporter revealed everything he knew. As for Yi Shaoting's family, these reporters obviously didn't have a good impression of them. I really didn't expect that the Yi family was tied up with a bunch of scum like them. Yi Shaoting's entire family are hopeless fools, but Yi Shaoan's daughter, Yi, has a really excellent character and good looks. She's young, yet she's even more capable than her father, Yi Shaoan. Today, she's the director of the talent recruitment department in one of the subsidiaries under Yi Group, Emperor Sky, and has groomed countless big stars. She's about the same age as Yi Shaoting's daughter, but they're on opposite poles. If only Yi Shaoting had a daughter like Yi, he probably wouldn't be in such a pathetic state, another reporter said. As the saying goes, dragons beget dragons, phoenixes beget phoenixes, and the son of a mouse can dig holes. In other words, like father like son. Yi Shaoting turned on his family and has a bad moral compass. With a father like him, how could his children be any better? A crooked stick forms a crooked shadow, right? The moment he said that, before anyone could respond, a white Bentley went past the crowd and slowly entered the Yi family's old residence. From the side window, you could see a girl with a delicate face as if sculpted from fine jade. In a split second, all the reporters' attention was attracted by that girl's breathtaking face. Each one of them opened their eyes wide, afraid they'd miss out on seeing this influential person. Very soon, the Bentley stopped by the Yi family's old residence. The driver got out of his seat and opened the door. The girl took a step out and slowly got out from the left side of the car. She was dressed in a white gown that seemed to be custom-made for her. Her long black hair was in a loose bun and was secured with a jade pin. She was magnificent and graceful, yet she was also delicate, causing all of them to palpitate with excitement. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. That girl had just appeared, yet she immediately stunned all the reporters and attracted gasps of surprise. Who's that star? Why haven't I seen her before? That's Yi, the beloved granddaughter of the two elders of the Yi family, Chairman Yi Shaoan's only daughter, a reporter in the know replied. This statement drew the comments of many of the new reporters. Yi's too beautiful, huh? With that face of hers, she could even compete with the stunning artistes in the entertainment industry, not to mention that disposition of hers. Artistes in the industry can't even fight with her. Yi rarely appeared in public, so each time these reporters saw Yi, they were blown away by her good looks. This disposition is indeed innate. If Yi made a debut, just this face and disposition alone would be enough for her to explode in popularity. With Yi's status, why would she need to enter the showbiz? She's not some flower vase. She's capable and smart, all right. In the future, the entire Yi group will belong to her. A group of reporters was talking amongst themselves when a young man walked out of the car right after Yi. The man had a tall build and was incomparably dashing. He was dressed in a custom-made Brioni suit. Every detail was almost perfect. With a faint smile on his face, he walked directly over to Yi's side. Damn, who's that I see? Isn't he the successor of Imperial City's Gu Group, Gu Yuze? Ah, he's so handsome. A few of the female reporters starting screaming when they saw Gu Yuze. They were even more excited seeing him than Little Fresh Meat or other big stars. The Little Fresh Meats in the showbiz were completely overshadowed when compared to this man, or rather, they weren't even in the same category. It was as if they were from different dimensions altogether. The better-looking fresh meats in the showbiz were just limited to their good looks and had merely undergone training on how to carry themselves. They weren't naturals. On the other hand, Gu Yuze was like Yi. His disposition and vibe were very fitting. His persona came about organically and couldn't be compared to those idols who had undergone training. At this moment, some of the young artistes from Emperor Sky standing next to Gu Yuze and Yi lost their attractiveness instantly. There was an even greater contrast when they stood side by side. Under all the stunned looks, Yi flipped her hair gently over her shoulders. Her slender arms naturally hooked onto Gu Yuze's arm as Gu Yuze lowered his head and revealed a tender smile to Yi. He placed his hand lightly over the small hand on his arm. The perfect couple then slowly made their way towards the Yi family's old residence. Seeing that Yi and Gu Yuze were so close, a reporter mumbled doubtfully, "Gu Yuze and Yi seem quite close, huh?" "Don't you know?" The senior reporter said, "Gu Yuze and Yi are dating." Gu Yuze's not only the successor of the Gu Group but as a prospective son-in-law, he would also become the CEO of Emperor Sky Entertainment, one of the companies under Yi Group. "Gu Yuze and Yi are dating? But I heard that Gu Yuze has a fiancé?" "Fiancé?" "He does." Gu Yuze has a fiancée and she's old Ye's granddaughter. She's called Yi Wanwan, Yi Xiaoting's daughter. When Yi Wanwan's name was mentioned, a few of the reporters revealed a meaningful expression. Yi Xiaoting's daughter. Yi Xiaoting's working at a small company today. He can't even provide for himself anymore, and that daughter of his is a known troublemaker and looks extremely ugly. How could she be with Gu Yuze? Never mind Gu Yuze or the Gu Group, unless he's blind, why would he choose to be with Yi Wanwan? That's right. I also heard that before, Yi Xiaoting forced Gu Yuze and the Gu Group to agree to this engagement, when in fact, Gu Yuze was in love with Yi at the time. Although it was from an unconfirmed source, I don't think it's fake. That Yi Wanwan isn't only ugly, she's so fat. With Yi Wanwan's ugly and fat look, who would want to marry her? If Yi Xiaoting didn't abuse his power to bully others and despicably broke apart Gu Yuze and Yi, how would Yi Wanwan have a shot at being Gu Yuze's fiancé? Most of these reporters only based their opinion of Yi Wanwan's looks on hearsay and hadn't seen her real life. But everyone said the same thing about Yi Wanwan's appearance, so there shouldn't be any discrepancy. After listening to the same words so many times, they'd come true even if they were fake. This had always been the case about rumors. The reporters lingered around for a few hours longer while the artistes arriving gradually trickled to a few as the welcoming of guests finally came to an end at the Yi family's old residence. However, many of the reporters stayed put. Nobody could guarantee that there wouldn't be any news throughout old Ye's birthday banquet. Even if they could merely catch some famous stars acting drunk, their long wait wouldn't be in vain. After half an hour, those coming to celebrate old Ye's birthday seemed to have all arrived and nobody else appeared. Later that evening, a taxi slowly drove into the place. Among all the luxury sedans, the old and shabby taxi seemed particularly conspicuous. Probably came to the wrong place, huh? Seeing the taxi, a few reporters got curious. Which person would show up in a taxi when they're attending the Yi family's birthday banquet? The Yi family's security guard stood outside the restricted area and stopped the car. After all, this was private property and not just anybody could be allowed inside. The driver stopped the car and looked annoyed as he turned to the family of three seated at the back. The middle-aged man had graying hair on his temples. His face was stained with hardships as he smiled apologetically at the driver, then got off from the car after making payment. In the front passenger seat, a handsome young man opened the car door. "This is private property. Please leave if you have no business here," a few of the security guards said coldly to the family of three, impatience visible in their eyes. After being stopped by security, a hint of fury appeared on the face of the teenager. "Do you know who we are?" "Mu Fan, don't be rash." Liang Wanjun reminded her son gently when she saw him so hot-tempered. Yi Mu Fan furrowed his brows and gritted his teeth. Although he was unwilling, he still kept his mouth shut. Yi Xiaoting glanced at his son and sighed in his heart. He then took a few steps forward and said kindly, Please inform them that Yi Xiaoting's here to offer birthday greetings to his father. Yi Xiaoting? Hearing that, the security guard was stunned. He had been in charge of security of the Yi family for so many years, and the leader of Yi Group was Yi Xiaoting before. Although he had never met Yi Xiaoting in person, how could he be unfamiliar with this name? You're Yi Xiaoting, the young master of the Yi family? The security guard looked somewhat confused, and he scanned this family of three. Other than the young man who appeared somewhat put together, this husband and wife looked particularly ordinary. Among all the guests here for the birthday banquet, one could even say they were dressed poorly. How did a person like this even resemble the all-powerful Yi Xiaoting of years past? May I ask, if you have the Yi family's invitation card? The security hesitated for a moment before asking. What nonsense are you spouting? Without waiting for Yi Xiaoting to respond, Yi Mu Fan yelled, We're here to celebrate Grandpa's birthday. Why would we need an invitation? Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. A huge outdoor manor appeared after first stepping into the Yi family's estate. Rows of willow trees lined the sides, and the whole place was decorated with lanterns and colorful banners. It was extremely festive. The housekeeper of the old residence was an old middle-aged man. His long and narrow eyes were seemingly sharp. Housekeeper Huang, I trust you've been well since we last met. A few of the middle-aged men who came to attend the banquet greeted the housekeeper with wide smiles on their faces. The housekeeper nodded in response, neither servile nor conceited, but if they took a closer look, they could see a distinct hint of loftiness, indicating his authority. In the outdoor manor surrounding the Yi house, a group of fresh meat from Emperor Sky Entertainment gathered together and exchanged gossip. Isn't he just a housekeeper? He's a little too haughty, huh? The fresh meat under Emperor Sky Entertainment glanced at the housekeeper's attitude and couldn't understand. Those who greeted Huang Mingkuan were mostly people with high status in Imperial City. Haughty? A senior artiste laughed. Housekeeper Huang is currently the most favored person by Yi, and he also has a lot of power within the Yi family. With his power, relationship with Yi, and friendly relations with many officials and noble people, his reputation is much more important than each of you. The few fresh meat couldn't help but click their tongues discreetly. The Yi family was so powerful, but they didn't expect that the Yi family's housekeeper had so much influence too. A housekeeper reaching this position was indeed quite rare. A few people seemed to realize how powerful the Yi family was and became more cautious with their behavior. At that moment, Yi Xiaoting, Liang Wanjun and Yi Mu Fan entered the manor and were slowly making their way to Huang Mingkuan. Housekeeper Huang, please bring me to see my father. Yi Xiaoting smiled at Huang Mingkuan. When Huang Mingkuan heard his request, he stopped greeting a few guests and looked sideways at Yi Xiaoting. There was a peculiar look in his eyes as he responded indifferently, Old master is changing, I'm afraid it's not very convenient for him to see you now, first young master. When the three words, first young master, came out of his mouth, the disrespect in his tone was excruciatingly piercing to the ear. There were a few middle-aged men standing in front of Huang Mingkuan. When they heard what he said, they glanced at Yi Xiaoting's family of three and looked at their pathetic outfits. A hint of mockery appeared in their eyes as they shook their heads and laughed silently. The previous all-powerful leader of the Yi group had reached his demise. Even Huang Mingkuan didn't treat him with respect at all. These three words, first young master, were equal to mockery. Yi Mu Fan's face changed instantly. He stared at Huang Mingkuan, who was using his power to bully him. Both his fists were clenched tightly by his side. He wanted to say something but was pulled back by Liang Wanjun as she frowned, shaking her head at him. Yi Mu Fan's gaze was frozen on Huang Mingkuan. His fists were clenched so tightly that his joints cracked. If it weren't for his father, Yi Xiaoting, recognizing his value, would he be in this position today? Now that his father had fallen, even this Huang Mingkuan was throwing rocks at him. Through the tense atmosphere, a voice suddenly called out. Long time no see, housekeeper Huang. Liang Jiahao and Fang Xiumin, together with their daughter, Liang Shihan, appeared. Mr. Liang. After Huang Mingkuan saw Liang Jiahao, His indifferent expression immediately turned into a smile and his attitude changed completely. Liang Jiahao was the younger brother, with the same father but a different mother, of Liang Meixian, the wife of the leader of Yi Group, so obviously he received different treatment. Huang Mingkuan remained in his position today naturally because he could make discerning judgments. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Shirhan, why aren't you greeting uncle? Fang Xiumin smiled lovingly at her daughter, Liang Shirhan. Hi, Uncle Huang. Liang Shirhan turned to Huang Mingkuan and smiled. Good girl. Huang Mingkuan laughed warmly. Shirhan's becoming prettier and prettier. Hearing that, Fang Xiumin's face was filled with happiness. How could anyone not think her daughter pretty? Before Fang Xiumin continued, she took a glance and saw Yi Xiaoting standing there and the smile on her face faded instantly. She furrowed her brows and asked, Brother-in-law, why are you here so early? Yi Xiaoting looked at Fang Xiumin and replied, Today's my father's birthday banquet. I was worried that traffic would be bad so I came here a bit earlier. Upon hearing this, Fang Xiumin's face instantly contorted. She sized up Yi Xiaoting and spoke in an unsatisfied tone, Brother-in-law, if you came earlier then who's going to handle things at the office? Not to mention a batch of goods arrived at the office today and has to be moved to the warehouse later. You left without saying a word, what if something happens? Fang Xiumin was very sharp with her words, not leaving Yi Xiaoting any face at all in front of everyone. Each word of complaint traveled to the ears of the nearby crowd and attracted a lot of silent laughter. The way they looked at Yi Xiaoting also became increasingly mocking. Everything should be fine. I gave the key to Xiaozhang already, he'll help me by working late. Yi Xiaoting replied patiently. You made Xiaozhang do your job? Fang Xiumin sneered. Brother-in-law, that's so easy for you to say, huh? Everyone in the office knows our relationship. You're using this position for your personal gain. If news of this spreads, people who don't know the situation might think we show favoritism when appointing our staff. They might also think that we're lenient with our relatives yet squeeze our other employees dry. How do you want Jiahao to command his employees like this? People might even take a jab at Jiahao's back. Fang Xiumin didn't have the slightest intention of shying away from the glances from the crowd. I'll rush back later. Yi Xiaoting sighed. What's the point of going back now? How much time would be wasted by going there and coming back? If something really happened, what could you do even if you went back? Forget it. It's just our luck that you're our brother-in-law. Since you're here already, forget it. Fang Xiumin waved her hands in annoyance. Although she said, forget it, every word she said pierced Yi Xiaoting's heart. Because of what her mother said, Liang Shirhan shot a look of disgust at Yi Xiaoting. Enough, enough. Liang Jiahao turned to Fang Xiumin. Don't you know what occasion it is today and the kind of people here? It's so embarrassing to fight like this here. What? I was just thinking about what's best for the company. It's not easy for us to manage a company and I thought we already did our best to help just by providing for your sister and brother-in-law. Who knew we even had to give brother-in-law a job? Fang Xiumin pursed her lips unhappily as if she'd suffered a lot of grievances. Dad, Mom's right. Mom was also speaking for this family. Why are you always siding with the outsiders? Liang Shirhan spoke up for Fang Xiumin. Huang Mingkuan, who was listening by the side, looked at Yi Xiaoting's face that was gradually turning uglier. A hint of ridicule appeared in his eyes as he sneered, Mr. Liang, don't blame your wife, she's just very direct and anyway, she didn't say anything wrong. Liang Jiahao smiled bitterly and didn't have anything further to say. He was sandwiched in the middle. On one side was his family while the other was his older sister. He was indeed in a tight spot. Seeing all these people mocking his father, Yi Mu Fan's face turned totally dark. If not for his mother who kept pulling him back, he would have punched the nauseating faces of these people. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Not long after, the birthday banquet started and housekeeper Huang Mingkuan led everyone into the ballroom. In the ballroom, a white-haired elderly man sat on the main seat. This was Yi Hongwei. Although Yi Hongwei was old, he was still very healthy. There was a light in his eyes, and every gesture of his was dignified like how a person on the top seat should be. The energy of the power he held swirled around him, causing everyone to feel deep veneration for him. When his gaze swept over Yi Xiaoting's family amongst the crowd, Yi Hongwei's brows furrowed, but he didn't say anything and looked away coldly. Grandpa! Very soon, he and Gu Yuzhe appeared before everyone. All they saw was the delicate beauty emanating from the girl. Her face was slightly pale, and she was natural and unrestrained as she gave birthday wishes to Yi Hongwei. Yi Hongwei looked at Yi and smiled lovingly, allowing the pair to take their seats. At their table was exclusively members of the Yi family, no outsiders allowed. Yi Hongwei entertained some distinguished guests who held high statuses in Imperial City. Jie, you've become prettier. Liang Shihan moved closer to Yi and sat next to her as she looked enviously at Yi's stunning looks. Yi giggled with warm and gentle eyes. Thank you. Fang Xiumin saw her daughter together with Yi and she felt glad in her heart, as Yi was the most promising amongst the younger generation of the Yi family. If her daughter could click well with Yi, then in the future, they might be able to secure their position on the Yi family tree. Fang Xiumin hurriedly said, Shihan, you must learn from your Yijie, understand? Mom, that goes without saying, Yijie has always been my idol. If I could learn to be half as great as Yijie, I'd be satisfied with my life. Sitting next to Liang Shihan was exceptionally well-behaved and had an unusually sweet tongue. Amongst everyone in the younger generation of the Yi family, you're the most outstanding one, Yijie, Fang Xiumin proclaimed while her eyes vaguely grazed over Yi Mu Fan. Yi noticed Fang Xiumin's gaze and she smiled gently, acting very modest. Those voices directly reached the ears of Yi Mu Fan and his expression was fearsome. In the younger generation of the Yi family, other than Yi, there was only Yi Wanwan and him, so Fang Xiumin was. Yi, I heard you and Yu Zhe are going public soon? Fang Xiumin asked. Hearing her question, Yi nodded and looked directly at Gu Yuzhe seated next to her. Her eyes were seemingly filled with inexhaustible, tender love. Gu Yuzhe looked at Yi's beautiful little face and his eyes were also filled with love as he laughed. It's happening very soon, actually. I've had this intention for a long time, but Yi was too considerate of other people's feelings, so it dragged on. Any shrewd person would understand the hidden meaning behind Gu Yuzhe's words and the person whom Yi was concerned about. Till today, the engagement between Gu Yuzhe and Yi Wanwan still stood. Although in everyone's eyes, Yi Wanwan was robbing Gu Yuzhe of the one he loved, and she was unworthy of this title and was still stirring trouble to this day. She wasn't in the same world as Gu Yuzhe, yet she still held on to him shamelessly. As for Yi, she was still worried that her sister was deeply in love with Gu Yuzhe and didn't want to hurt Yi Wanwan's feelings. Comparing the two of them, Yi and Yi Wanwan were complete opposites in everyone's hearts. How much one loved and envied Yi was equal to how much one would hate on Yi Wanwan. These two kind, which is why she gets bullied by some people. After all, the two of you are a perfect pair. He is way better than your ex-fiancé, troublemaker Yi Wanwan. When she said the last word, Fang Xiumin felt something was off and she quickly stopped speaking. That condescending tone of Fang Xiumin was too piercing to the ear. This time, before Yi Mu Fan could speak, Liang Wanjun's expression turned cold. This mother who'd been tolerating all the mockery and gossip up until now suddenly turned to Fang Xiumin when she heard what she said. Fang Xiumin, what do you mean by that? Jia, what do you mean? I didn't even say anything. Fang Xiumin curled her lips, unwilling to admit to being in the wrong. I heard everything you said just now. Liang Wanjun's breathing quickened. She couldn't take it any longer. Yi Wanwan was her daughter, and even if she had some bad traits, no mother in the world could let others talk shit about their own daughters. People could talk about her husband and her and she would tolerate it, but insulting her daughter? She would never allow that. Sis, Xiumin's just very direct with her words. She didn't mean any harm. Liang Jiahao noticed the change in Liang Wanjun's face and quickly intervened. You? How could you guys do this? Liang Wanjun looked at her younger brother who was trying his best to smooth things over, her voice quivering. He, who was seated by the side, looked coldly at Liang Wanjun and Fang Xiumin's argument. A hint of pleasure discreetly surfaced on her elegant face. What about us? Suddenly, Liang Shirhan, who was seated next to her, stood up. Our family feeds you and you live off of our backs. All these years, if it wasn't for my father's kindness and allowing you to stay, you guys would have been sleeping on the streets long ago. Look at the way your own daughter acts, don't you know it in your hearts? Yi Wanwan's a tyrant. She's so ugly, incompetent and fake. How could anyone not insult her? Shirhan, why are you saying all this about your Wanwanjie? Liang Jia Hao shot a look at Liang Shirhan. Dad, I didn't say anything wrong. Anyway, we're from the same generation, so why can't I criticize her? If she's so capable, then why doesn't she come and take her parents away? They're totally living off our family. We've taken care of her parents for so many years, but look at them, are they even the least bit grateful? If it wasn't for them, would you have always fought with mommy all these years? Liang Shirhan didn't give in at all. Her hatred towards Yi Xiaoting's family had reached its max. Liang Jiahao looked at Liang Shirhan and was somewhat helpless in controlling his own precious daughter. Finally, Liang Jiahao sighed and gave up. Facing Liang Shirhan's criticism, Liang Wanjun could only close her eyes as her heart ached painfully. Yi Mufan's fists were tightly clenched and his heart was extremely stifled as he looked at the scene before him. At this moment, all the guests nearby gave them weird looks. Liang Shirhan looked at Liang Wanjun and the others who were silent and sneered. If it was my parents, I would never ditch them and not care about them at all. Shirhan, what would you do then? Fang Xiumin seemed to be asking this question on purpose. I'd definitely work hard to earn money to let you two settle down and live well. I'd never leave the two of you at someone else's house for years and trouble others, Liang Shirhan replied as a matter of fact. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.